Welcome back, fellow adventurers. Michelle Trieste and Joe DeBone here. We are actually very excited to talk about our visit to Deadwood.
Deadwood, South Dakota, an iconic town.
Oh, that was so fun.
Lots of old buildings, lots of casinos.
Yeah.
If you walk into a laundromat, there's slot machines. You walk to a little grocery store, there's slot machines. But it's an iconic place.
Oh, it's beautiful.
A lot of the old buildings still remaining there. Cobble streets.
Yeah, and I remember you showed me some pictures of when was that mudslide back when you went there last.
Paul DeVonzo and I were in Deadwood in probably, I'm not sure, maybe mid to late 90s. And we pulled into town. It was during the Sturgis Bike Week, so obviously there's lots of motorcycles in Sturgis.
Yeah.
And we couldn't find a place to park. So
not on Main Street.
We couldn't find a place to park anywhere on the street.
Normally.
Yeah, we couldn't find a place to park because there's lots of motorcycles there.
Right.
So we
parked on a back road.
This guy had a sign in his yard, $5 parking. I said, it's kind of a ripoff, but we'll do it anyway. And we had to pull up his driveway. It was kind of like 6-8 feet above the grade, and we parked on his lawn. And this guy, pretty enterprising, probably in the course of the day, he made, who knows, $500,000. He would have without the incident. So we parked up on this thing. We're grumbling about it. So anyway, we're there and we're spending our time and it's going on, watching this and that. Whatever. All of a sudden, we see a bunch of people running and screaming. They're running down the street and they're being chased by a mudslide. There had been a fire the season before, the winter before, and it just defoliated most of the trees and the brush and the hills around Deadwood. So consequently, when it does, it leaves the ground open for erosion. Then it rained for quite a while, and rather than the ground soaking up the rain, it just built up, and coming down the street, coming down one of the side streets and into Main Street, there's trees, logs, debris, stumps, and this gray-looking mud ash coming down. I'm talking like a couple feet high. So it came down around the corner. There was a line of bikes that swept them over and just worked its way through. It was so much. I mean, people were jumping up on the benches to get out of its way. It was up to the ankle, up to the axles on some of the motorcycles. Some of the bikes got tipped over in it.
Wow.
Paul and I looked over at each other and said it wasn't such a bad deal to pay $5 to park up on the hill. Now the problem was getting out of town because there's all kind of debris everywhere. But we were able to come down. They actually came through. They hooked up. Guys came down with bucket loaders.
Wow.
And buckets on rubber tire mounted machines from the town.
Imagine.
And they actually came down with plows to plow some of the stuff. It was just the ickiest. It was ash. Like I said, came off the mountain, so it took stumps and debris and all kinds of logs and all kinds of stuff.
That was my first time there, and the main strip, the main street there looked like a pretty newly bricked.
I don't know.
It was beautiful, but I don't know.
I don't know if it was newly bricked or what.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, it's been years since that, so I'm sure they had time to clean it all off. Stuff it sloped into town from one of the side roads. It came down a mountain, took a side road. What are these people running from, Paul? We looked around the corner, up the hill. Here they are coming. Here's this mud and debris. You can look it up. I forget exactly when the date was, but
hard to keep your Harley clean like that. That's not working.
Well, for $5 we were clear of it. It just took us a while to get out of town.
Very cool.
But it was all good. Yeah, Deadwood's famous for the number 10 saloon.
I didn't realize the gambling either.
Well,
the number 10 saloon, we saw that.
Number 10 saloon. It's been relocated. There's the new one and the old one.
Right.
There's the original one where the Aces and Eights hands of Billy the Kid became famous. That's the hand he was holding.
All right. Yeah, there were two of those actually. They showed two on this.
Well, one was the original one, then there was a new one across the street.
Right.
There's Aces and Eights became the dead man's hand. That's the hand he was holding when he got assassinated.
Oh.
And supposedly the real the chair that he was sitting in is there, and supposedly some of his real firearm. I don't know if it was or not.
Right.
But if you have time, you got to stop at the Deadwood.
You just have to leave your firearm outside.
Well, when you walk
into
there's signs when you go into number 10, knives, guns, whatever, they want them all. So there's a guy about 7 feet tall that collects all your weapons. You rather give me your weapons and deal with him. So it's all good. No colors either. No motorcycle colors. Yeah, they don't want anything going on there, I guess.
Yeah. Doubled his money. Joe doubled his money. Here on Main Street.
While Banjo and I were standing across the street, we heard people hollering, come running down here. We looked over and a wall of mud, grit, tree limbs, and logs.
Yeah. Now we had gone there after the Sturgis Bike Week, so you weren't allowed to park on the main street there. You had to park elsewhere. But during Bike Week, you can park. All the bikes are just stacked in front of each other, and there's no helmet law.
pretty adequate park. All of the mayhem of Bike Week, because you can sit there in traffic, and it gets pretty warm then. You know, you can sit in traffic. Sometimes sit there. So we went the week after. We were able to see all the attractions,
everything easily.
Everything. No problem parking. We were able to eat in the restaurants of our choice. We got good miles in. Like so in the previous one, we went down to the Crazy Horse and Mount Rushmore, and
the Iron.
We did the Iron Horse, Iron Mountain
Road,
and Needles Highway. It was all just some incredible rides. Without the
but
there's a little bit of excitement to be in there with 250,000 other bikers, but there's also you're sitting and waiting for about everything. The place we stayed on, the Spearfish Canyon Inn, was an incredible place. But
that was one of the stops, I think, for a lot of Sturgis people too.
Well, they said the Spearfish Canyon ride is a pretty popular road.
Yeah.
That along with Van Acker Canyon and a few other of the roads there. But the thing with this during Bike Week, as a side note, if you're thinking of going to Bike Week, make your reservations now for next year if you can make them. And don't be surprised if you have to go 20, 30 miles out of town. Anywhere you're out of town, it's a beautiful ride just to get there anyway.
And we went to downtown Sturgis. We wanted to check out the Full Throttle Saloon that I really wanted to see. Actually, Pete put in GPS to go to Full Throttle, and because we stopped over at Buffalo Chips.
Yeah.
We stopped to check out that scene, which it's a campsite, big, large campsite. No one was there. We stopped and took pictures and things. So someone said, Pete said, I want to check out the Full Throttle too. So he puts in his GPS. There's some other guys there that were visiting from, where were they from? Florida or something. And they said, I think it's downtown. And Joe had been there, obviously, downtown. They used to have a show, the Full Throttle, right downtown?
Well, Full Throttle had a TV show. It's a weekly thing. It was pretty, like one of these reality things, the owner and his wife.
Right.
And they had dance troupe and the whole bit. They showed a lot of stuff going on during Bike Week.
Donkey or something
and not during Bike Week. It wasn't actually in town. A little closer to town than it was.
Right.
So we went to, and you got to realize.
He put in the GPS, right? But it didn't show where Joe had been before.
It didn't show because obviously it burned down. And they swapped properties with somebody else. They swapped for a 600-acre property. Now you got to realize, 600-acre property out there is not the biggest thing in the world, but it's not small by any means. And Bike Week this year, it rained 6 inches in like 2 to 3 days.
Oof.
So when that rain comes down and that kind of stuff, it turns to gumbo. Your tent, if you got a camper, you're lucky to get it out there. And if you're in a tent, you're sleeping in that mud and gumbo. So it was pretty serious mess, I guess.
Yeah.
And the chip is the same thing, buffalo chip, which you're going to see pictures of the chip.
Packed down.
Yeah, it's just kind of hard packed down clay. When it gets wet, it's mud. I can't imagine being there.
Yeah.
And I have been there during the Bike Week, and traffic in town. You're just sitting in traffic waiting. That's
where most of the bars are downtown there.
Well, the bars, and then there's a bunch of bike shops and custom bikes, and every custom maker from across the country and some from Europe want to be at Sturgis. Sturgis is the big deal. There was 250,000 people there, and it's pretty iconic.
We put in our GPS, where's Full Throttle? Someone thought it was, the guys from Florida thought it was going to bring us back near downtown, but it didn't. It brought us to the new location.
And unlike the Chip, the Full Throttle's open just about year round. It's probably in a couple of winter months. If you get a chance to get out there, go to the Full Throttle.
It's open year round, right?
It's open year round. It's recognized some of the most influential people in biking, like Arlen Ness. There's a huge statue mock-up of Arlen Ness riding his motorcycle that resembles a 57 Chevy. And it's big. It's right out there for all to see, right on the road.
Pretty cool.
And then Indian Larry's got Indian Larry standing on top. His last ride, standing on his motorcycle.
Yeah, that was at the Full Throttle. The new Full Throttle.
The new Full Throttle. It's an incredible big, almost like an open air type bar.
It was and gorgeous. So much.
They built it specifically to honor the working men, the working people of this country. And there's displays and exhibits there. There's a little barmaid there. What's her name?
Oh, Savannah.
Yeah, you'll see her.
Yeah,
you'll see her in the video.
Yeah, I'll share that. And they had the coolest with pipes everywhere for beer.
I don't know how many. I don't know how many types. I don't know how many types of draft beer they had, but you could see all the kegs were stacked up in the cooler. They had these overhead pipes, all insulated with the beer coming in. I forgot how many taps. You'll see it. You'll see it in the video.
Share the video.
Pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty. There's all kind of motorcycles there, from all over. It looks like there's a bunch of motorcycles they just found rusting apart in barns. They're on exhibit. A lot of
trucks and just everything.
Oh yeah.
Amazing to think that they built this whole thing. She said they swapped the property down there, the old one, for the property here and started from scratch and built this place. Wow. Wow, it's a wow factor, that's for sure.
That's so cool. Tubes up here. Those carry all of our draft beer from the kegs to the taps. There's like 6 tubes in each one of the pipes up here.
There's beer in each tube.
We got 36 on each side here.
36 on each side? Wow. Oh, okay, now I notice. The pipes coming down to each.
Yeah, I'm the year-round bartender here. I only went until rally time, and they bring in about 99 more bartenders.
Wow.
And just you don't have to be there during the bike week. you'll have a good time. If you want to deal with a bunch of crowds, then go for bike week. If you don't want to, go a week earlier or a week later. Of course, the temperature can be pretty warm at that part of it.
Yeah.
I've been there. Yeah. I've been out there.
But it was still
7 or 8 times. It was still what?
Yeah, it was. I think. Well,
we had a couple days.
Too bad.
Couple days went into
90.
Couple days went into the 90s.
Yeah, but it was still manageable. Cool. And ran into some interesting people over at the Full Throttle. There was a husband and wife there. I don't recall their name, but I'll show the picture. And they shared with me a great place to look at leatherware.
So obviously we did it.
And, yeah.
You talk about iconic motorcycles. Also in Deadwood, most every place they got the Elvis's bike, their Evel Knievel's bike, their original jackets, their helmets, the whole bit. Yeah. Really neat, really good.
Whether it was in the casinos where they had memorabilia.
Yeah, that's where they were.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
But it was a great ride over and a great ride back. We did the Van Acker Canyon, Mount Nemo Road for Paul. We did the Mount Nemo Road.
That was, they reminded
you of the Van Acker Canyon. I'd been on it like, I don't know, 25, 30 years ago. But they remind me again of how great it was. All good roads. Yeah. And the bit of rain now, we had like 10 minutes of rain on the Van Acker. So it was raining so hard sometimes in such big drops, I thought it was going to turn to hail.
Yeah.
But it's kind of welcome because it was a hot day and it cooled us off.
Yeah.
And 2 minutes after stop, we were dry again. We refreshed and cool a little bit.
Yeah, that was a great ride.
Yep. And it would be a great ride for Roger with no windshield because these raindrops are like teacups of water coming at you.
Yeah, a couple of guys they don't use.
Some guys. If you go out west.
Who else? Roger doesn't, and then
Gary
who came with us to Yellowstone. He doesn't wear he doesn't have the windshield.
Gary McGrath is an Ironman. Gary came up.
My God.
Gary came up from Denver, Colorado to meet us. He did about a 6.5, 7 hour ride to meet us, then rode us for 8-10 hours a day. No windshield. How these guys do it? And when you follow me, I don't go slow. I ride hard. I'm doing 70, 75, 80 miles an hour. Yeah. And you got to eat a lot of bugs at 77, and they sting. Yeah. Believe me. Once I turned 40. Which was a while ago, I started riding with windshields. It's a lot easier on your face.
Yeah, especially when the bees and the bugs or little rocks pop out and hit you. But it was a great time. And Pete and Kevin actually gave me an award here.
Yeah, Michelle was honorary sheriff.
Honorary sheriff here. So.
She's real proud of it now. I can't say anything. The sheriff will arrest me. Sometimes they just put hands out and say, "Go ahead, handcuff me." It's fine.
Yeah, it was a great trip.
Got to take. It was.
This was the end, and you'll see. I'll post the map there. But I just wanted to, if you were going to go out west. And I hope you do because it's the best riding. We were thinking about maybe, 5 things we wanted to share with you as far as tips if you're riding your motorcycle there. And I think, of course, safety, but you don't have to wear your helmet there.
Most of the Western states are helmet free, but I would recommend, because if you're on Interstate 90, sometimes you're doing 90 miles an hour. Speed limit's 80. And I hit a swarm of locusts once at about 85 or 90, and that's not a whole lot of fun.
Wow.
We have a windshield and have good eye protection so it doesn't go flying off.
Yeah.
Long sleeves is always great.
Yeah.
Even when it's warm.
Gas.
And when you see a gas station, somebody says, "Well, I just got gas." I don't care if they just got gas. When you pull in for gas, everybody gets gas at the same time because they can be far and few between. Not so bad around the Black Hills of Sturgis. You start heading out to Wyoming way, getting out towards Bear Creek and around there. Everybody stops for gas. I don't care if you got a 5-gallon tank, a 6 or a 3. When one person needs gas, everybody fill up.
Yeah.
It's a long way in between them.
Yeah.
Keep your tire pressure up. It's usually warm, so be cognizant of your tire pressure. Goggles, good goggles are a must. There's crosswinds.
The wind was so strong. Like I could ride normally with the glasses, but I really needed the goggles.
It'll push you sideways.
Because you're going like 85 or whatever.
There's other things besides bugs. You're riding through farm country.
Your eyes get so dry.
Your eyes get dried out, and there's no humidity in the West, so be aware of that too. Drink fluids. I like to start out with a couple of brand new tires because by the end of your trip, you put on 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 miles. You got a tire that's crushable, you're going to need a new tire. And let's not be riding around on tires that are crushable at 85, 90 miles an hour. And some of the curves out there require good tread on the tires. You do get some rain and water's a little wet. You want good rain tread on your tires too. So
you definitely put on more miles.
Leave a safe stopping distance between you and when you see animals alongside the road, whether they be bison, you'll see bison, you'll see mountain goats in some of these places, and they don't move. And cattle is the thing you're definitely going to see.
Right.
It's open range.
Open range.
There are some cattle guards, so they can't get in some places, but in a lot of places they'll come across the road.
And there are wild ponies too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, there's wild horses out there too, some Mustangs. Yeah. So be careful of the wildlife. That's some of the precautions to take. Gas up, fuel up. If you can fuel up and get a bite to eat at the same place, that's a time saver too.
Yeah.
Start your trips early in the morning, which is my thing. I like to get on the road, burn a tank of gas, and then stop for breakfast and coffee. Right. Some people want to sit around restaurants. Well, you're wasting half the good travel time in the morning. Your best travel time is before the sun gets up too high. It's not, no matter which direction you're going, it's not in your eyes.
And as a new rider, I learned a while ago when I was really, really new, don't drink coffee. Try not to drink coffee in the morning. Otherwise, it's a diuretic, so you have to stop a lot. But
unless you got a pretty good bladder. Michelle does pretty good, I have to say.
So, yeah, I've learned, but I'm better than I was. But yeah, whether it's your first time out west or you've been there many, many times, we just hope that you enjoy it and share it with others. And it's a great place to remember how, just over the years, how there are challenges when you're trying to make your way through life, and you're not the only one. It's kind of neat to see that, just how people have just persisted through life and had to start all over again.
The biker community, to those of you who are maybe a little bit intimidated or don't know, the biker community is pretty good towards each other. Somebody's alongside, or you're alongside the road, somebody's going to stop and ask if you're okay. There's always that little wave, your hand down to the side, another biker coming the other way. They're usually courteous, grant you the right of way.
Yeah.
And amazingly enough, most of the four-wheelers, most of the cagers, we call them cagers. If you're in a car, you're in a cage. Most of the cagers and the four-wheel people out there will sometimes also give you a break. If you pull up and back them, your speed may be a little more than they want to do. In a lot of cases, they pull over.
Yeah, they pull over to help people understand who don't ride the motorcycles. When you're riding your motorcycle, you don't have shade over you. You don't have a roof over you.
Or air
conditioning. As well as the bike, it's too hard for them to handle the heat.
Harleys are air-cooled engines.
Yeah.
That means air has to be flowing by them. You sit there, they just get hotter and hotter and hotter.
And it's really bad for the motorcycle.
Detrimental to your bike. Their oil heats up. Even though the new synthetics can handle a lot better, you want to try and keep moving best you can.
So that's just for the people in cars. So you have an idea that when you see a motorcyclist in heat in traffic, they really need to keep moving. Otherwise, we could have a breakdown. So
it's all good.
So we will leave you with that. And thank you for joining us through this whole Wild West adventure. And we hope that you have learned a lot about endurance and how to keep yourself motivated and facing challenges. Hopefully this helped you learn a little bit more about just humanity and nature, motorcyclists, and the freedom of just moving forward in life.
Don't be intimidated with your riding.
Yeah.
You have to ride a little bit aggressive. Sometimes you got to be close to being on the edge to be safe.
Yeah.
And don't be intimidated about it. If you think your ride to Kent is something to Kent Falls, well, get your ass on your motorcycle, get out west somewhere. No matter how you have to get it there. Yeah. Because now you got to ride 100 to 150 miles with no stop signs, no traffic lights, no nothing. It'll really enlighten you what riding is all about.
Yeah. Practice, practice, practice. Whether on your motorcycle or just trying to face new challenges in life. It's important that you get out there, face yourself, face your fears, and you will be doing more miles in life and on your bike than you ever thought you could.
Kevin, Gary, and Pete, thanks for the badge that you bought. Going through head now. I was a lieutenant and I'm a road captain, but she thinks the sheriff badge has put her higher ranking than me. So thanks a lot, you guys.
Great. Yes, it was a great group of guys. And I hope that you are fortunate enough to do something like this with a group of bikers, because you'll always meet people along the way and make new friends. But until I see you for the next road adventure, and we'll see what that is, I leave you with thoughts of keep your mind open, keep your hearts open, and wheels on the ground. Thank you for joining us. And Joe,
ride hard or stay home. Mine is ride hard or don't ride at all. Come on, Chair. Put the cuffs on me.
All right.
Bye-bye.